Hey guys, this is Hell Hades. This is a Raid Shadow Legends video. Guys, we've got some champion buffs coming up in the next patch. We're going to go through them now. Before I do it quickly, we have got, because all of the 2x are all over the place, right? It's like shard event. What's next? Shard event. We're doing another one. So this weekend shard event is going to be a 2x chance to get your big fat legendaries from Void Shards. Obviously, we're going to be at the end of any of the fusion type stuff. So it's literally going to be, do you want to pull Void Shards and try and get yourself some new Void legendaries? Yes or no? So that's going to be this weekend. But next patch, which I'm guessing is next week. We don't have any like definite info on it. There's 2 champion buffs. One of them has been needing a buff since the day he came out. And the other one is kind of like in a weird spot. And I guess a buff is pretty welcome. So the first one up, who's trying to be the one I'd say is in a bit of a weird spot, is Suzerain Catone. So Suzerain actually had a spell where he was pretty much in the arena meta, would you believe? He had this ability here, remove shield, block damage and unkillable buffs from all enemies, then attacks, and then places heal reduction. The buff removal cannot be resisted. So when there was a bit of a spell of high resistance, champions coming in, getting like a straight shield from someone like a Krisk. This guy could come in, clean those shields off, and then your damage dealers could come in with the smacks. Yeah, as he stands right now, he's got AoEs on every ability. Makes him a decent campaign farmer, but then, you know, so is a rare champion from like you can just pick up for no time. Like your starter champions aren't bad. You could go get yourself an uncommon dude as well. What's his name? You know the one. Anyway, campaign farmers to a penny, right? Even Queen Eva can campaign farm. So that doesn't make him good enough. Having all AoEs, though, is quite nice, yeah? AoE drop speed, AoE decrease defense and weaken, albeit the percentage chance to land is not 100. So you've got 50%, books up to 80 on the weaken. And will only place the decreased defense if weaken isn't placed. So you compare it to some of the other legendaries out there, it's just a bit weak source. Yeah, and then this will put heal reduction out as well. Let's see what they're going to do. Hex of Years, which is his A2, is going to get a damage buff. The damage is going to go up. And then this 50 changes to 70. So 70% books to 100 of placing weaken. And then 45% chance books to 75 of placing drop defense. I mean, it's definitely better, right? You get a guaranteed weaken and a 3 out of 4 decreased defense. It's still, you know, you look at a Draco and Draco's like that. When I was buffed, they were both 100%. When yours is buffed, one of them still isn't. It still feels a little bit harsh, but definitely better than what it was. And then Banish from Time here is straight up just going to get a damage buff. So 2 damage buffs on AoEs. I'll be interested to see how hard these hit because 2 hard hitting AoEs is nice. This ability is still kind of relevant, you know, removing the shield, albeit it won't remove something like bolster set shield, which is, you know, if you think about, you know, higher level play, I don't know that just increasing his damage is going to be enough. But certainly if you've got him sitting in the vault and you don't really have a lot of use for him, more damage is going to be good, right? Okay, let's move on. Actually, same faction. It's the Tongue Man. Elegaeus. When he came out, as soon as we saw his kit, we were like, this dude needs something else. Yeah, it just felt weak. So let's see what they've got in plan for him. It's actually caused a lot of text. This is going to be a big change, right? So as it stands right now, Spirits of Spite has got a block active skill ability, 35% chance to do it. The A2 can put a target skill on cooldown. If there's more than one of the same target on the enemy team, it puts them all on cooldown. But again, you compare it to someone like a Basher, who's an epic, just puts everyone's skills on cooldown. Like, this is weak. The only place where this is good is Faction Wars, where you're up against 3 Valks, and you're trying to make sure that they don't do that counter-attack move. On the A3 here, we've got an AoE. This skill is actually not that bad already. Books to 100% chance of removing 2 random buffs from enemies. Also, 100% chance of decreasing turn meters. Decreases turn meter by another 0.2% for every 1% of HP this champion loses, which is interesting. And then his passive here prevents his champion's death So he's kind of got like an unkillable built in, and he'll just stay alive with 1 HP. If this still prevents his death, he gets a heal, turn meter fill, and some shieldage. Again, quite an interesting passive. Long cooldown on it though, 5 turns. So what are they going to do to this fella? Dead stop. So it looks like they're leaving his A1 as it is. Dead stop here on his A2. So looks like the start of it's the same here. Attacks one enemy, puts the target skill on cooldown, also places block buffs for 2 turns, and then it stays the same. So the difference here is it's doing it plus it's doing block buffs. I mean, honestly, the problem was not the individual they're casting it to, Raid. Don't think it's going to make the difference. Block buffs on the individual, if it then spreads to, again, let's call Valk out. If it spreads to the 2 other Valks, great. But it's such a niche use for this guy, it remains kind of unusable. How often are we fighting 3 of the same enemy, 4 of the same enemy? Yeah, it really says, I'm just a faction wars dude. Doesn't it? I don't know that makes any difference here. Right, let's have a look at the next skill. Ghost Rage. Attacks all enemies. 75% chance of removing 2 random buffs is the same. 75% chance of decreasing enemies turn meter by 20% is the same. Decreases enemies turn meter by a further 10% for each removed buff. So it's just way cleaner. Way cleaner. So you're getting a 20% turn meter drop anyway. And then if you're removing 2 more buffs from the enemy, then it's actually an additional 20% drop. So it becomes a massive turn meter drop. It's not bad. It's not a bad change. It takes away this kind of like very weird worded element to it. Becomes buff stripper, turn meter drop. Quite a massive one if the enemy's got a lot of buffs. Right, they're also changing this passive up a bit. So they're reducing the cooldown from 6 to 5. So 1 less cooldown. Let's see what they're doing to it. Prevents the champion's death and keeps them alive on 1 HP when hit. That's the same. If this skill prevents death, heals them by 30% of their max HP. So a straight 30% heal instead of 10. And places a 30% HP shield for 2 turns as well. And gives them a 30% turn meter fill. So basically you've got an extra 20% heal, a bit more turn meter, the shield stays the same. Will not prevent this champion's death if they are under heal reduction. That stays the same as well. It's definitely better. The reduced cooldown's okay. Obviously, more health, more turn meter is going to be good. And they're also giving him an aura, increase ally accuracy in all battles by 60. That's actually quite big. I just feel like they've missed out here. They've missed out on the dead stop. I don't know, comment below. Does that make a difference to you on this dead stop? Do those changes make a difference to you in terms of whether or not you're going to build this guy out, in terms of whether or not he becomes a valuable legendary champion? I don't know. They've actually done some really good buffage over the last few months. I feel like this is one of the weaker efforts for me. Anyway, there you go, guys. I've been Hell Hades. I'll see you later.